guys, so this is the next review. This is the Volvo XC70, a 2005 model that I'm driving right now. This thing has a inline 5-cylinder 2.5 liter engine that produces 208 horsepower at 200, I believe, 36 pound-feet of torque. Sounds about right. So this basically is a continuation of Volvo's cross-country series, which really started around the previous generation of like the V70s. It basically kind of was a special edition V70, really a little bit more rugged around the edges. It had, like, you know, kind of flared bumpers, a little bit of like protective plastic instead of paint in case you get like rock chips, you know, of the sort. But basically with this car is it's kind of almost, I would describe it as a mix between an SUV and a wagon. It has the little extra off-road capability of going through like gravel or through like light mud and the sort, because it's an all-wheel drive obviously, and it's also slightly raised. The level of the car rides a little bit higher than the standard V70 models, so it's a bit of a more, I guess you could say, off-roadified, rugified, excuse my terrible grammar, it's not a word, standard V70 wagon. Now, what do I like about this car? You know, the transmission has improved quite a bit from the previous models, the V70s, you know, the first generations. This cross-country model has really improved the transmission. It has a 5-speed automatic transmission with Geartronic, and it has a manual shift mode, which in itself is not really much to rave about. However, the manual transmission option, as in shifting option, it's not a true manual transmission, excuse me, really helps with the punchiness of this car. So on the other car it had a 4-speed standard automatic, which really was inadequate for the car. I earlier reviewed a Volvo V70R from 1999, and that car is great. It produces probably around 40 more horsepower than this thing. So you would expect it to be a lot faster. However, from the punch, from 0, I tend to think it doesn't feel as fast. This car accelerates in about 8.4 seconds to 60. The Volvo V70R, the 99, it accelerates a bit faster, but the low-end power is really lacking due to that automatic transmission, in that it doesn't leave you in a low gear long enough to really get the full power you want. This one, you can flip it into manual mode by flipping the shifter stick over to the left, and in doing so, you can really get a lot more power out of it. And that's something I really appreciate about this car, and that's really the saving grace factor that makes this car really not boring to drive, believe it or not. It's actually pretty interesting once you put in that manual shift mode, because you do get that extra bit of power and that extra bit of controllability. Now, what do I not like about this car? Well, it's not a sports car, it's not a sports sedan, it doesn't try to be. So you are going to get a little bit of the mushy pedal feel. The brake's a tad bit mushy. The accelerator is not the most responsive. There is quite a bit of lag when you're in second. You do get a bit of lag on this car, but it's not like a major problem. It's not a sports car, but for what it is, it's pretty darn fun to drive, believe it or not. My only gripe about this car is that really on turns it's not something super confidence building, if you know what I mean. So what I mean by that is that this car, let's wait a second. What I mean is that this car has really really mushy suspension. So it's good for going over bumps. It's a very comfortable cruising car. I think they put in like near luxury category. It's not quite, you know, your Audi and your S-Class Mercedes, but it is very comfortable and it rides very, very smooth. Don't get me wrong, this is a comfortable car. However, The problem with this is that when you're taking turns, you get a lot of body lean. And don't get me wrong, you get a lot of body lean. So when I'm first taking this thing out, I'm used to, you know, kind of taking corners pretty fast with the V70 because it has really stiff suspension. So you can really rip on corners, but it feels safe. Like, you feel confident doing it. You don't feel like I'm out of control, and you have confidence in that car because you know how it's going to react. This one, you would think, you know, I can take the turn at the same speed, but you'd actually be quite wrong. It has a lot more body lean, and when you're in a turn, you don't feel it hugging the road in that same way. So there's a lot less confidence when you take turns because of the body lean. And in general, you feel a lot more detached from the road in general. So you really don't have enough feedback to really feel comfortable making decisions such as, how fast can I take this turn? You know, can I make this really? Because you really have a little bit of more of a disconnect from the road, and that's something I really don't appreciate too much about this car. But like I said before, it's not a sports car. What else do I not like? The steering is very floppy. It's very loose steering. I'll show you what I mean in just a second when I take a turn. But the steering, you'll turn the wheel. Once again, there's understeer. It's an all-wheel drive, similar to the V70. But when you take a turn with this car, it does have that same understeer, and it just feels a lot looser in general, the steering. So, good little way to test that is just go like this with the wheel. Nothing happens, watch. See, I'm wiggling the wheel quite a bit, good 3 inches in each direction. I'll do it again, a little faster. Nothing's happening. So the steering is quite a bit loose on this car, and that's something you gotta really get used to, like on turns, because if you try to like rip this thing around like a sports car, you're gonna be off the road probably pretty quickly, just because it doesn't handle, it doesn't really react and grip the road and give you that feedback like a sports car does, because it's not a sports car. But it is very comfortable, don't get me wrong, and it's very responsive. It's fun to drive in manual mode because you can really flip it down those gears and get the full power, something you can't do, like I said, in my V70. So, what else about this car? The interior is very comfortable. Volvo makes some of the best seats probably on the market, I must say. Like, out of all the seats that different cars have ridden in, I really love the Volvo seats. They're extremely comfortable, extremely just, they hug you. This one doesn't have a ton of side bolstering, but they're just comfortable seats. There's no getting around it, and they look good. I mean, the car is, styling is not bad. It's nothing too extravagant, but it's very, once again in Volvo fashion, very classy and very understated, and just a nice thing to drive around. So, let's see, what else about this car? Is there anything else I have to say about this car? I don't know, let's just take it for a little quick acceleration run. See what happens. Let's flip this guy down and... So it's not slow, don't get me wrong, it's not a slow car. But basically I would recommend this to anybody who just wants a, you know, family car, daily driver. You could probably commute this thing. It gets, you know, around 18 to 20 miles per gallon. It gets more on the highway, around like 22 to 24, I'm guessing. From what I've seen, this gets about 18, you know, city driving. So it's not a bad car to drive around as a commuter. It's very comfortable. It has a lot of room. It's a great substitute for an SUV, and that's basically the market that I would really recommend it to, is anyone who wants an SUV but doesn't want an SUV. It's basically the best of both worlds. You get the clearance and you get a little bit of the extra, you know, ride heights and confidence going over bumps and you know, rough terrain as you would with an SUV, but you get the handling characteristics and the fuel economy of a sedan or, you know, a station wagon. So, all in all, do I like this car? Yes, it's a very good car for what it is. It's purpose-built for just a daily driver. Great car. I'd go out and buy one. I'd go check one out of the dealer, test drive them. Heard the new ones are a lot better too. As always, please like our video below and subscribe to our channel. Much appreciated. And we'll have more reviews for you guys hopefully next week. And we'll see what we can come up with. We're going to get some new content, more interesting things. And as always, stay tuned. Thank you.